When I think about my gaming upbringing, if you will, there is one game, or should I say mode, that features rather highly, and that is Call of Duty Zombies. Now, when you think about its origins, Zombies on Call of Duty really is a bit of an underdog story. A little bonus Easter egg mode for completing the campaign on World at War, where in a desolate, ravaged little building, surrounded by nothing but the undead, you try to survive for as long as you possibly can, with nothing but some chalk guns on the wall and a random box in the corner. And with that, a new phenomenon was born. Zombies. It was an unprecedented success. Nacht der Untoten, as the map was called, went from a small Easter egg at the end of the campaign, much like Mile High Club was before it on Call of Duty 4, to the first map of what would be many. World at War would of course go on to have 3 more maps for Uruk, Toshino Numa and De Rees, all which brought something along that would go on to be staples of the mode in years to come. Perks, Hellhounds, Wonder Weapons, Pack-a-Punch, and the start of a story that would fry the brain of many, convoluted yet intriguing. Black Ops would build upon this throughout its run, Zombies' popularity even allowing for Map Pack 4 to be devoted to it as opposed to sharing the limelight along with multiplayer, bringing the original 4 maps from World at War and Moon, the first map to properly push the boat out for the madness, mayhem and the truly bonkers. Just the thought of that bloody astronaut is enough to make my blood boil. Then we of course had Black Ops 2, which brought along Transit, which was more of a miss than a hit, but it changed the game up quite a bit and it did show Treyarch's desire to constantly look at new ways of implementing the mode. Plus it brought along 3 smaller maps within it, such as Town, which was more of a traditional Zombies experience, and then Bus Depot, a tough, Natched-esque map, with just you, the box and zombies. But Black Ops 2's best work came from its DLC, with Mob of the Dead, Buried and Oranges all proving to be classics. Nuketown even had its own map, which was a bloody good map as well. It also brought in new modes, a versus mode, and Turned. Then we get to the cream of the crop. To me, the peak. The golden age of zombies that was Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 had some of the greatest maps, the greatest Easter eggs, the greatest weapons. Zombie Chronicles releasing led to there being 14 zombie maps when all was said and done. 14 zombie maps, that is unbelievable. Now, I know Gobblegums were a bit controversial at the time with Perkaholic and whatnot, but there was a simple answer to that. Just don't use them if you didn't like them. Other than that, Black Ops 3 was perfection. I still go back to Black Ops 3 Zombies to this day. They are, to me at least, the glory days. Sadly, that is where it all went wrong. Now for me, Black Ops 4 is where the problems start, and to be honest, a little bit before that as well, but more on that later. But it has culminated in where we are now with Vanguard. I will go into more detail about my opinion on Vanguard and Cold War Zombies soon, but in a nutshell, not a fan. The gameplay you're seeing now is from the new map, if that's what it's called these days, with its objectives, I don't know. It's the new map from Season 2. I haven't played it much again since. But seeing as we've had a nice little order going to the video so far, we'll go to Black Ops 4 first. Now first things first, the positives. Much like the 14 number for the maps of Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4 had 4 maps at launch, which was unbelievable now. However, the changes made to the mode for Black Ops 4 would be best summed up by, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. The perk system is a prime example of this, where it didn't need to be revolutionised, and they did. There was no need for it, no one was really asking for it. In the things like the perks, which are, let's face it, very much opinionated, the game was off to a bad start due to constant crashes and constant blue screens whenever going for a long run or for an Easter egg. The maps, to me at least, were just not interesting. The Titanic one somewhat was, and it was tough, which is something I did enjoy, but that wasn't the same for many of them. And of course there was the negative reaction to the Black Ops Pass, which did not help Zombies' case at all, at a time where the free extra content and battle passes were becoming all the rage. By 2020 and the release of Cold War, the day of map packs were, of course, long gone. COD had gone for the Fortnite S model of battle passes and free content, which in theory would be beneficial, but once again, more on that in a bit. Now, Cold War Zombies wasn't necessarily bad, it just wasn't good either. The maps, for the most part, they were okay, they were fine, they were playable, they weren't awful. But, and there is a big but, from my reckoning, and do correct me if I'm wrong, but the only truly new and unique setting was Firebase C. Die Maschine was just a slightly bigger Nacht der Untoten. Both Mad, Toten and Forsaken used campaign locations. Then there was Outbreak, a new objective-focused take on zombies. It sounds familiar, doesn't it, Vanguard, eh? It was too big, it was too repetitive, and it was too boring. This was quite a big deal for Treyarch and Cold War Zombies because it was sort of angled and put out there as the main big thing for the mode, but it flopped, and it flopped pretty hard. Sure, there are probably people out there that enjoyed it, and you know what, good for you. I'm happy for you. But I saw barely anyone discussing Outbreak, playing Outbreak, and I didn't really see any positive takes regarding Outbreak. And the thing that annoys me the most about Outbreak is it is quite clear that it probably had an impact on the round-based conventional maps. They put their focus on this new way of playing zombies, and to me, it backfired. And that brings us to Vanguard, where it appears they have doubled down on the idea that the objective style would be popular from Outbreak, and they went with it for Vanguard. On a small scale, Vanguard Zombies is basically Outbreak. You have objectives to complete that get harder the longer you go. It's the same sort of few objectives that you repeat until eventually you get bored and exfil. Once again, the maps just use campaign and multiplayer locations. Only Shi no Numa was unique and away from this, and that is at just one segment of an old map. So saying it's unique is a bit of a stretch. There was also other issues, such as a lack of an Easter egg at launch. Easter eggs, of course, being a big deal for Zombies maps and Zombies community. But there was no Easter egg at launch. There was a lack of Pack-a-Punch camos at launch. And there was also the fact you can't pause a solo game. That last one is as ridiculous as the Battlefield lack of scoreboard fiasco. Overall, by looking back at Zombies over the last decade or so, it just makes it feel incredibly hollow these days compared to what it once was. From 14 maps or 4 maps at launch to rehashed campaign settings, 4 maps all year, and no round-based option. It just does not feel right. Now, in fairness to the Treyarch, I do have a degree of sympathy. They have, of course, had to take on COD in 2020 when they weren't meant to. I've had to work on Vanguard Zombies as well as their future title. It is a lot to take on, but that to me raises the following question. In a period where they could be stretched, and stretched quite far by the sounds of it, why go out of their way to completely rewrite the formula? I get that dev teams change, and a lot of those working at Treyarch way back will no longer be there. There will be people with a fresh take, a fresh perspective to do something different. But once again, it comes back to the saying, if it isn't broke, don't try to fix it. Black Ops 4 tentatively started to fix what wasn't broken. Cold War and Vanguard have taken it to a new level. And as I say, at a time where Treyarch are stretched in terms of resources, surely trying something different is a bit of a gamble. Now, there is at least a bit of hope that this certain issue won't continue, with the news that there'll be no new main release in 2023 and that Treyarch's game will now be in 2024. Hopefully that means there's less pressure on them and their release windows will be less time intensive. However, that could leave us with Vanguard Zombies as the latest Zombies installment for 3 years, which does send shivers down my spine. Now, there are also issues away from the gameplay itself. Zombies used to only find itself on Black Ops, or the Black Ops series of games, so I include World at War in that. In recent times, of course, this has changed, obviously including Vanguard itself. Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare and World War II also look to jump on the Zombies train, and this did not help it. More does not always equal better. Zombies used to be far easier to look forward to when it was just on Treyarch games. That's not to necessarily suggest the Zombies modes on other games were necessarily bad. For the most part, they weren't. They were kind of like some starters at a restaurant. Sometimes you have too much and you bugger up the main course for yourself. I do actually look forward to Modern Warfare 2 doing something different this year in terms of its third mode, and I hope that soon enough we'll be back to Zombies having a few years between them and some space to breathe. Remember when I said I'd mention the new content model for COD being good in theory? Well, here goes. I don't think it is. Now, obviously, from a multiplayer point of view, definitely is. From a bank account point of view, again, it definitely is. But for Zombies, I'm not sure it has been. My theory is that without the financial incentive that the maps now bring, there is less of a care for it within Activision as a whole. Zombies maps would often sell whole map packs and season passes on their own back in the oldie days. At least for me, they often did. Can't speak for everyone, but I'd assume I'm not alone in that. Now though, Zombies as its own entity doesn't really bring much at all financially. There are some people who might literally just get the games for the mode itself, not that there can be many that do that these days as it is. I might be wrong, but if Zombies went onto its own model for post-launch content, one that maybe even returned to a paid model with a guarantee of original gritty peak zombies that we once had, I think most would probably be okay with it. Again, maybe that could just be me. But in its current state, Zombies has really hit a cliff. It's sad to see it needs changing sooner rather than later. Thank you for watching. It's a bit of a rant, but certainly from the heart. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, anything you may have agreed or disagreed with. Like I say, let me know. If you enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like and consider subscribing for more like this in the future. I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.